Greetings all, greetings. This road going towards the McDonald's signs going into the city of Balanga. This road goes to the highway, will take you to Maribeles, Olongapo, Subic, Manila, and any place north of Bataan. This takes you to all the other barangays in the province of Bataan. You can also take this road going to Manila, but it's a what they call a local road, Loab. They call this one 4 lanes. And they call this one going this direction and this direction Loab, L-O-O-B. The city of Balanga is surrounded by mountains. The province is mountainous and lowlands. And you can see the lowlands in front of me, the rice fields, swamp areas and all that. But the one thing I want to point out about what I just said is that this represents where things come together and flow. There's no traffic light here. I've only seen one accident at this place. Just one. Things move so smoothly that sometimes it scares me. Anyway, Africa is at this road. It's coming towards, it's like where that red bus is, but coming towards this junction. And either things can go smoothly the way Africans want it to go. And I'm not talking about the old people who work on behalf of the Europeans and Indians and Arabs and everybody else that want to see Africa remain the place where slaves are born and shipped to the rest of the world. And I mean that. Take that as like my aunt who raised me. Say, put that in your mouth and smoke it. And she was the 3rd generation away from Africa. She died in 1999, I believe. 98 years old. She has said, put that in your mouth and smoke it. It means that it's a guarantee. Africans are born, and these people I just mentioned keep Africa in a position where they'll always be slaves to the rest of the world. But that must change if Africa is to move through the crossroads to the place that it wants to go, to the place that it should go, a place that if it doesn't go, be another 60 years, 100 years of slavery. You heard American policy. You heard the American policy they put in place America's century, the next American century. And they began that century with the World Trade Center destruction, or whatever you want to call it. And from that was war after war after war after war to control all the resources, bringing all of the power into hands of America. That was a policy set up. And every president that came after George Bush followed that policy. As a matter of fact, Clinton started the policy with the war in Yugoslavia. At that time, it wasn't called the American century. But up to today, that policy stays in place. And the world is focused, including Africans, on who is going to be the next president. But it doesn't matter who is going to be the next president of the United States. The policy will remain the same. And what we have in Africa is a policy that was given to them to keep their fellow Africans, the leaders, to keep their fellow Africans as the place where slaves are born and shipped to the rest of the world. That's the policy for Africa. And the leaders, the old men who are in charge of leadership of Africa, them and their little armies of policemen and whoever else they can corrupt and put in place, are following that policy given to them by the Europeans, and the UN is just there to make sure that the policy is followed. That's just no if or buts about it. You can put that in your pipe and smoke it. The policy will never change. Right now, America is preparing for a war with China because of that policy. Because China has come to a stage where China says, look, we have been embarrassed for 100 years by America and all the European nations, by Japan, and whoever else that the European has chosen to be in their group. And China says, no, it's not going to work that way. Even the Russians have come and say, look, we are not going to join Europe because it is destroying the rest of the world. And the Russians didn't come to that by accident. They wanted to join in. But what happened is that Russia's got too many resources that people want to control. Just like how they control the resources in Africa. The resources belong to us to do what we want to do with it. You are not allowed to control your own resources. Over the last, I would say, 6 months or so, I've witnessed an increasing number of young African men and women. The women are not as, there are subjects that the women don't deal with, but that the young men are beginning to deal with now. It's no longer the buildings and the roads. Look how beautiful they look, like America. It's no longer that. They're putting their leaders in the spotlight, saying, hey, this person is doing this, this person is doing that. And that is a good idea. They're finally beginning to see, hey, there's something. These things are necessary because we need change in Africa. That's something I've never seen in Africa before. But the process is slow and need to speed up. They also have to get into the social sphere with bringing forth, making changes. When you reach the age of 25, that is the age where young men change the environment to make it what they want it to be. Whether it is what people call good or bad, it doesn't matter. They change it. And today, Africa cannot go anywhere but up. It's already on the bottom of everything except the place where resources are got. And those resources including the people, the young men and women who are just coming into their prime, who will be ready to change the environment that they're in. They're no longer ready to accept their leader driving down the road and throwing biscuits at them the way their parents did. They're no longer ready to accept the leaders getting billions of dollars out of the resources that they own, and they and their children are starving. So you got to change that. And they're making changes, but now they got to get into places where instead of being pushed out of the country, they have to organize themselves. That means leadership. And taking on the leadership might be difficult because not only they have their leaders against them, but they have a system set up that chooses you got all these private schools all over Africa that they tell Africans these schools are better than your schools. Why not come to this school? So those who can afford it will spend all they can to send their kids there. And all of these private schools are owned by what they call NGOs that funnel all those children. They choose the best of them and funnel them into the education system, Europe or America. By the time they graduate college and come into the world, they're not ready to change Africa. They are just ready to implement what they have learned in America and Europe in Africa. And what they have learned is that Africa must borrow a ton of money to build roads, to feed the population, and then let the rest of the country starve. And the roads are not for the Africans, it's the road for the resources to come out of the country. They get taught that women and children get abused by everybody and they gotta protect them. They forget that they came out of the same African countries that they're accusing the people of abusing you. They get abused. But now in somebody else's in their head, controlling that brain. You got all kind of, they bring all kind of manipulated diseases into Africa. Into their own place, you know. On behalf of others. They bring Bill Gates and Warren Buffett foundations, Oprah Winfrey Foundation to corrupt Africa. And the young people of Africa who are now making videos about Africa and showcasing good and bad, gotta showcase these people, the evil that they're doing in Africa to destroy life in Africa. After you bring that up and you educate your fellow Africans, change will come. If you don't do that, the foreign policy of some other country, whether it be India, Arabia, UAE, Japan, South Korea, Italy, France, Germany, US, it's going to still run Africa. And Africa will remain the place where slaves are born and shipped up to the rest of the world. I hope you understand what I'm telling you. Not understand, sorry, I'm using the wrong word there. Comprehend. Comprehend. Look up the word comprehend, compare it to understand, and you'll see the difference. Have a great day wherever you are. This is information that Africa needs. We as Africans need information like this. Peace.